Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here. Sick Cirrus over there.
Hey, I'm not sick. I'm just
Twisted.
yeah, I'm sick. I'm sick. It's not great. I'm not super thrilled with how my body's acting right now.
You're not just sick, you're also sick.
Oh god damn it.
I
I
mean,
made jokes about dad stuff earlier, and I don't need that side of it either.
in my defense, that could be a good thing. You're not sick, you're also sick.
Yeah, I'm a 90s kid. I understand. I get it.
Are you a 90s kid though?
I was born in 92. So yes.
Mm,
I was in Pensacola Christian Academy while they were telling me that all of the things 90s programmings were telling me were good were bad.
oh, that's almost exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
Oh boy.
So yeah, just preamble before we get going. This is a fundraiser stream. We are raising money for Project Share. Our goal is $10,000. Last year we hit $12,000. I feel like we can still do $12,000, but
I think we can.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
pretty confident.
so I actually have a spiel prepared this time. Yesterday when I streamed, I had a prepared video done where I just downloaded their promotional video and did my own voiceover to it because it was a bunch of text that you had to read, and like, I should probably like say that out loud so that people don't have to stare at it the entire time.
Mhm.
But then that stream got copyright claimed by whoever made the music that they used.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So I won't be doing that here, but I can tell you, I have a spiel written out, so I can say I was planning on turning this into a video, but you know, things happened, and I don't have time for that. So Project Share is an amazing charity that helps people in need living in the Niagara region. They have 17 programs that individuals and families can access, including support with utility payments, emergency prescription funding, free school supplies, a food bank, community gardens, and more. Every year we host a fundraiser for them during the month of November, and last year we raised $12,000 for them. And according to their annual report for last year, they raised, I think it was $53,000 from third-party fundraising. So we raised almost a quarter of their third-party fundraising last year. So that's pretty fucking spectacular. And I know most of my audience is made up of atheists. Most of your audience is made up of atheists. And atheists get a bad rap. People think that we're all a bunch of selfish jerks. But every year we prove the stereotypes wrong by being one of the most generous communities I've ever had the privilege of being a part of. And as atheists, we all recognize that this is the only life that we have, so we strive to make a positive impact on the lives of those around us, and giving to charity is one of the ways we can accomplish that. So every dollar helps, so please, to those of you who can, help Project Share do more good in the community with your generous donations. You can go to share.vicerhino.com. I verified before the stream that does actually work. At least it worked for my partner on her phone, and she
Is this not
should
going to be like the other week where
well,
every method of trying to get it to work just kind of
to the best of
went
my
down the
knowledge,
toilet?
she has not gone to any of my little shortcut links on her phone. So she shouldn't have like a browser cache thing going on, making it look like it's working when it's not. So share.vicerhino.com should work. If that doesn't work, the link is in the description. And I've got a chat bot spamming the link in the chat. Oh yeah, also Twitch chat can be pinned. I haven't seen it go through there yet. So as soon as I see it in the Twitch chat, I will pin it. And
I keep wanting to have my microphone on free use like normal, but I keep hearing Growlithe and Chip barking at something outside at 8:30. Coyotes, maybe. Who knows?
Do you believe in life at the falls? I can feel something inside me say, I really don't think you're gonna donate enough.
Wow.
You're welcome.
We all just got serenaded by Rhino. That's worth at least $1.
Yeah, everybody give $1.
At least, yeah. If everybody gives $1,
We'd have $72.
no. Add my chats too.
Are you
We
actually
have-
streaming today? Because you weren't streaming before.
No, I am streaming as well. Everybody on my end, if you would like, please go over to the watering hole. There is
So-
a link.
Binary Hedgehogs has shared at Autotune before. It was cool. There's a video on a channel called Sideways where he talks about the problem with auto-tuning, and he explains how basically, like, if you hear auto-tuning, it's not that they've done too much auto-tuning and it's because the person can't sing. It's because that's an artistic choice that they've made. Because literally everybody does auto-tuning, especially if it's a studio recording, but also live. A lot of them do it for live stuff too. And the goal with most of that is to, like, even out the imperfections in the performance. So if you're hearing the auto-tune, that is them cranking it up to 11 on purpose for an effect. So like Cher did that on purpose. She was trying to go for that sound. T-Pain, he's got an amazing voice. He's an amazingly talented singer, but he gets shit for all the auto-tune he uses because that was just the style that he went with.
Yep. I actually learned that from my vocal instructor as well, because when she was talking about the ways in which she was going to have to mix my audio for any of the stuff that I was working on, every single time she'd go like, I know auto-tune gets a bad rap, but what you need to understand, and like that conversation would get had just about every single time that was brought up.
Yeah. People are asking in the chat how much for Rhino not to sing. So should I just sing constantly until we get to $4,000?
You have to sing from now until the end of the stream. You have to treat this like a musical.
Oh.
And then if $1,000 is reached, you'll stop and you'll have mercy on everyone.
Okay. But you almost got away with this. You were almost lucky, but I have to come back and around to this. But did you say you were setting your mic to free use?
As opposed to me having to like push to talk.
Okay. Do you know what free use means outside of?
Yes, I know.
Okay, because I don't ever use push to talk. So my mind immediately went to the other category of free use.
My mic's a free use, bitch. free use slimes.
Yeah. Free use slimies. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we accidentally had... So as I was setting up the stream, I got an email. And it's not an email that I would normally bother checking. But it's from Truth Social.
Oh, God.
And Trump is mad because he got some bad press recently. But I hadn't heard the bad press. I had not noticed any press about it. So the email from Truth Social actually is what brought this to light, to where I decided it was something that I was going to cover today. So substantial doubt Trump's Truth Social will survive, or substantial doubts Trump's Truth God damn it. Substantial doubt Trump's Truth Social will survive, accountants warn.
If you guys donate to Project Share, Rhino will magically gain the ability to read.
Maybe. I read most of that spiel for Project Share. No problem. I stuttered a couple of times, but I feel like I did okay with that. But something about Trump's Truth Social will survive, it's like that is a bit of a tongue twister.
Say Trump's Truth Social 5 times fast.
Yeah. So yeah, there's not much to this one. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but they recently, the company that they're looking to merge with had to do an SEC filing. And so when an SEC filing happens, some stuff comes to light. And so they apparently Truth Social has about 861,000 monthly active users on iOS and Android as of October, which is 1% of those on Twitter. So it's not doing too well.
Jesus, that's considering that Twitter has been dropping people.
Mm-hmm.
That's 1% of the current numbers on Twitter where they've been dropping people left and right.
Yeah. Well, as of October.
October was like last month.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe Elon turned it around in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. You know what? I can think of a few people with that level of confidence.
I'm gonna say that no, he hasn't though, because I have actually started using Twitter significantly less because I moved the Threads app to where my Twitter shortcut used to be. So now my muscle memory just has me open Threads. So if you follow me on Twitter, go to Threads. So yeah,
I need to probably get Threads and Blue Sky up on my end.
I'm not going to go to Blue Sky. It seems too complicated. But anyway, this is a direct quote from the SEC filing. It says TMTG, that's Trump Media something something whatever. The corporation that owns Truth Social has suffered negative cash flows and recurring losses from operations that raise substantial doubt about its ability to continue as a going concern. That's from the SEC filing. The way Trump chose to phrase this, or whoever is responsible for writing the emails that go out to people who are on Truth Social, because I'm still there occasionally. Oh, where'd it go? What account did I fucking use for it? There it is. It says, on November 13th, 2023, Truth Social's merger partner submitted an amended S-4 registration statement to the SEC. The submission was a major milestone towards completing our merger with them. The mainstream media, however, responded by launching a momentous smear campaign against Truth Social and its parent company, Trump Media and Technology Group. That's the TMTG. Instead of reporting that we're advancing towards completing our planned merger with DWAC, dozens of outlets in an apparently coordinated attack, published a fake news story that fabricated utterly fictitious financial results for TMTG. Like, they directly quoted the filing where it says they've suffered a negative cash flow and recurring losses from operations that raise substantial doubt about its ability to continue as a going concern. Like, that's a quote from the filing. You can't...
Wasn't that something that Twitter also suffered from as well originally? Like, it was hard for Twitter to turn a profit for some reason?
I think they still haven't.
So this is just a problem with trying to have the one website as the hub for everyone, I guess.
Well, this is the venture capital problem with how all these businesses started, where it's a cycle of where they're just like, oh well, we can run at a loss for a while in order to like run everybody else out of business so that we are the one site that provides this particular service. And then once everybody's using us for free because we've been running at a loss, then we can implement some sort of monetization scheme that will actually allow us to turn a profit. And then when people see that and they're implementing a monetization thing and they're like, oh, well, I've been getting this for free for years now. Why would I pay for it? Yeah, so that's what happened in the tech bubble of the late 90s. If you recall that, there was a lot of companies that were just like, no, we just got to be first. Give me all the money so we can be first, and then that'll like automatically make sure that we succeed in the long term. Because like it's just important being first,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. It's just that Twitter and Facebook and a handful of others managed to survive that, but still are not terribly profitable.
So a channel I don't want to mention right now because I don't want to give them more publicity at the moment because they've turned a leaf I'm not super thrilled with, actually mentioned that was one of the things that we're witnessing right now is a lot of people trying to get on that train for things like NFTs. And they're like, oh, but don't worry. Eventually, just like with the .com boom, the real use of them is going to come up. The real use of them will come up out of the mire. Like, not for the JPEGs. Probably not for the JPEGs, my guy.
No. Probably not. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Trump is sending out a bunch of like cease and desist letters to these people saying they need to like take down these articles, retract them, issue public apologies and everything. Otherwise, they'll pursue legal action. But it's like, they're just reporting what was in the filing, buddy. Like
they're mad that publicly available info has been made more accessible, I guess. Like the only case they could really have is like, reporting on it has made us look less desirable. And like, well, yeah, but that was your numbers. If your numbers make you less desirable, that's a you problem to fix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I very much doubt that anyone's going to take down their things and issue the apologies. And I very much doubt that Trump is going to... I don't think he's going to follow through with the lawsuit, and if he does, it's not going to go anywhere.
I mean, realistically, what can he even do there? Like, I don't... Again, it's public info. It's their numbers. All that he's upset about is that it's their numbers without somebody spinning it in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something you can... There's no legal defense there.
Is this even a case of like libel or whatever? Can you commit libel against a corporation? Well, I mean, corporations are people, so
you can. I don't think it's called libel, but you can. I forget what the actual word for it. Maybe somebody in my chat remembers. But there is something where you can give negative press about a company that is technically incorrect, and I think that's the thing, is that it needs to be incorrect.
Yeah, but if they're just saying,
things that are true.
Okay, Twitch chat
Kinma
now
says,
has the project share link pinned.
He's like, is it libel? I don't know if the word is libel or defamation when it comes to a company. I don't know. I believe there's a specific term.
Doesn't matter. I just thought this was a funny thing, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it. So let's move on to the next one. 1 million moms. I decided, rather than going with like someone else's coverage of it, I went straight to the source, 1millionmoms.com. Now they're boycotting the Thanksgiving Day parade at Macy's. And this is 1 million moms. This petition actually got quite a bit of media buzz in the right wing, like New York Post and Breitbart and OAN type of sphere. So normally they only get about 15,000 signers of their petitions, but this one's got 29,858 right now. So like they're almost at 3% of 1 million.
So So do you know the story behind why they're named 1 Million Moms? Because I don't. I'm hoping you do.
It's because they imagine that they're part of the quote unquote silent majority. So like we represent a large number of women who are afraid to speak out. We're actually I kind of accidentally did a bit of a deep dive on this one, so we'll get into a bit of the hypocrisy around their name, 1 Million Moms. So they say no to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So unless they are forewarned about it, this year's holiday parade will potentially expose tens of millions of viewers at home to the liberal LGBTQ agenda. Like, Jesus. How are they going to do that? Because performance showcased in the parade will include music from true Broadway musicals, Anne Juliet and Shucked, both of which feature transgender non-binary performers in major roles. So like, they're expecting like a 10-year-old kid to watch a parade, hear some music from that parade, and then recognize that that music is from a show in which there is a trans or non-binary character, and then be like, oh, because I heard that music in the parade, I'm trans now. What the fuck are these people on about?
I don't think anybody understands what makes somebody trans, because nothing turns you.
It doesn't.
Nothing turns you trans.
Even if something did turn you trans, this wouldn't be it. do they really think that kids are going to be permanently altered by like, oh, I heard some music, and that music is also in a different context represents a non-binary or trans character?
I mean,
like, the kid's not going to know that context. Unless they've gone to see the play, in which case they're probably with parents that are supportive anyway.
So consider this, Rhino. These are the same people probably that were on board with the satanic panic, or at the very least
guaranteed
dealt with this shit when they were kids and they internalized it instead of realizing it was all bullshit. So actually, yes, Rhino, these people do believe that subliminally you can be influenced that deeply by music. They think that already because they think Satan's in it. We've already seen this shit.
So Scott Dillahunt says, how much to get a Rocky Horror Picture Show float in the parade? I would love to see that.
That would actually get them upset.
Oh, for sure. Well, this actually gets them upset. I don't know what they do with that. That's the thing. If they're going to be freaking out about such minor stuff so regularly, nobody's going to listen if they actually have a point at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they are the boy who cried wolf. It's like, I remember I started watching the new DuckTales show because 1 Million Moms put up a stink about there being a gay couple in it. The gay couple show up for all of 2 seconds in one episode. I watched that entire series looking forward to the gay couple, and they were a blink and you miss it moment.
Yep, I think there's only 2 scenes that even feature them at all.
Donald Duck being trans was more obvious than the gay couple.
Like, it just...
And they didn't even mention it on 1 Million Moms. They completely missed that one.
Although I will say, Lightyear was a good film. I enjoyed it.
It was. I wasn't talking about Lightyear, though.
And not just because it made all kinds of people angry for no good reason.
Well, I mean, I can see how, like, in universe, that's not the kind of movie that Andy would have gone to see as a kid and gotten him that excited about that Buzz Lightyear character. So, like, it doesn't really work from that perspective, but it was still a good movie. I still enjoyed it.
I think the beginning of Toy Story 2, the video game where it's like Buzz versus Zurg, that they're somehow playing a 3D game on a Super Nintendo like that.
Well, it was supposed to be off-brand Star Wars.
Yeah, like it made more sense that Andy would get excited about that canon than what the actual Buzz Lightyear movie was still. But still, it was enjoyable. And I'm not gonna lie, the outrage quote about that movie probably influenced me to watch it more than any of the trailers actually did.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Just complete opposite of what they were intending.
It's the same thing with I've got a new show that I'm going to watch. We'll get into that too. Lord of Uzclax says Donald Duck is trans. Yeah, so as it turns out, there was one episode of the new DuckTales where all of the ducks get like magical mermaid tails, and Donald's was very obviously in the color of the trans flag. And so that that kind of piqued my interest and was like, what? Like, is Donald Duck trans? Like, is that a canon thing? Like, did they just confirm something? So I Googled it, and it turns out that, like, it's been a fan theory for ages, and it has been pretty much explicitly confirmed by Disney in the Disney way, where they have plausible deniability, but they still pretty much said it. But like, yeah, no, so Donald Duck on occasion in the cartoon lays eggs. His sister, Della Duck, they're identical twins, but she's a girl, which means that either she is trans or he is trans.
Okay.
So they're like, just genetically speaking, that is the case. And the fact that Donald Duck lays eggs, Donald Duck is trans.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Wait, that means also canonically Donald Duck has had phalloplasty, because there's a couple of moments where, like, there's a peeking thing under there.
Yes,
so
I know the still images.
Yep. So he's speaking of. Donald Duck is canonically trans and has had phalloplasty.
No.
Well, that's not what Disney intended. That's okay, though.
Monorail saying Bugs Bunny is bi. Bugs Bunny is also a drag queen.
But Bugs Bunny as a drag queen is...
That's,
if anybody
that's
denies
been a thing.
That,
yeah, no,
thing for ages.
That is impossible to deny. He regularly dresses up as a very sexy bunny.
But it's just so that he can... It's just so that he can fool Elmer Fudd. Yeah, and also make out with him on occasion, which has also happened.
Yeah, but even if it's just to fool Elmer Fudd, that still makes him a drag queen. Because drag is just about performance. I'm performing as a woman to fool Elmer Fudd.
And he definitely performed.
Anyway, so Justin David Sullivan, who personally identifies as non-binary, will be featured in the Anne Juliet Parade performance. On stage in the musical, Sullivan plays the role of May, a non-binary friend of Juliet. That sounds delightful. Maybe we should go see that. Alex Newell.
Thank you for making us want to do this again.
And I like this one because they say Newell, who uses all pronouns, he, she, they, they're in a bit of a bind there because they don't want to use their preferred pronouns, but they prefer all the pronouns. So you can
they
see,
have to say Newell.
yeah, so they say Alex Newell, a biological male who also identifies as non-binary, and you notice that they never use pronouns to refer to Alex.
That the amount of ways that somebody has to contort themselves at that point, just like, look, the point of language is communication. That is why it exists.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that we develop things like acronyms, shorthand, slang, is because these things make communication quicker. When you are deliberately rolling that stone back uphill, making communication infinitely more obtuse, just so you can avoid saying a pronoun. It is the most petty, dumb shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like somebody who's
but their preferred pronouns are all the pronouns, so you can't use a pronoun for them because then you're being gender affirming.
Have you ever met anybody who deliberately avoided any type of they deliberately avoid acronyms, and they deliberately avoid any word with an apostrophe? So if somebody says don't, they'll immediately just say do not. They don't say can't, they'll always say cannot.
The only person I know who does that, anything like that, is Commander Data.
So,
or Spock.
In high school, I met a couple of people who were like this and were just a little bit on the pretentious side when they spoke as a result of this. That's how every single one of these fuckers has to sound 24/7. No, I refuse to use that new thing. You made it up. You mean like all the other words we've made up?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna keep talking in a way that's easy for people to understand. You go into your corner and piss.
Well, someone, I forget who it was, but might have been Shannon, actually, made a point on Twitter about if you read Chaucer and you read Shakespeare, they're both writing in English, but it's completely different English. And Chaucer was born only like 200 years before Shakespeare. So it's like the amount that the language changed in that very short time period is just wild.
Yeah, that's kind of typical. It's why it's hard for me to read Lord of the Flies now.
So I decided to do some research into 1 Million Moms because I saw they have a thing at the top saying successes. I'm like, oh, so what have they been successful for? I started looking at like, okay, let's just go in order. So Jackson Hewitt's commercial is family friendly now. If you open that up, it doesn't say what commercial. I don't like, what did they actually accomplish? I don't know. Did they change an existing commercial? Did that commercial just run its course? And because it's not being aired anymore, they claimed victory? We don't know. They don't give us any details. Same thing with TurboTax. Exactly the same thing. I have no idea what commercial they're even talking about. Sonic has pulled sponsorship from Little Demon, not Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the
Sonic the fast food place.
Sonic the fast food place. So if we read this, it's okay. No, well, it doesn't say that in this, but there was another article that I found on this when I was trying to figure out what the fuck that was even about, where they didn't actually get confirmation that they pulled sponsorship from Little Demon, which is a show, like, this is a show that I'm now interested in watching that I did not know existed until I found it on 1 Million Moms. So thank you very much. Yeah, they basically, Sonic had advertised them on them in the past. Then they did their petition. They sent their petition in, and then the next week, like the next week's episode of the show, did not have a commercial from Sonic. So they were like, aha, we won. Yeah, it could just be that the sponsorship ran out, but they took that to mean, aha, we won. And they did the same thing with like Popeyes and T-Mobile or whatever. But this is the one that I found interesting. Disney Channel's controversial series, The Owl House, canceled. So they are claiming victory in that they got The Owl House canceled. So I looked into this a little bit. The Owl House, when they announced that it was canceled, the first sentence in the article announcing that it was canceled is Disney Channel has picked up a third season of the Peabody animated fantasy comedy series, The Owl House. Does that sound like it was canceled because of pressure from 1 Million Moms?
Hold on. What's the title of the article say?
The Owl House renewed for season 3 by Disney. channel or by Disney Channel ahead of season 2 premiere.
Even
Now,
the title.
To be clear, the 3rd season is the final season, and the creator of the show was not happy about the 3rd season being the final season, so it is not a, like, this was just the story arc and it's over now. It was a Disney is not interested in a season 4. But they took, we are doing a season 3 and that's going to be the last season as, yay, they listened to our petition and canceled it for us.
This is the so back when I was an Alex Jones fan, we would get these emails all the time about the ways in which merely knowing what the Bilderbergers or, you know, whoever the villain of that month was supposed to be, merely knowing what their goals were was enough to stop them from going through with whatever plans they were doing. So we'd get these emails that went like, we won. Raising awareness for this has stopped the globalists from doing X, Y, or Z. Now, 99.999% of the time, knowing about something doesn't actually change jack shit about what's going on. It doesn't.
Nope.
You raise awareness about something, and that's cool. You raise awareness about something so that somebody engages in action. That's the point. But I know from experience that people who are in these conspiracy woke bad, I mean, it wasn't even called that back then, but these conspiracy woke bad circles, a lot of them do legitimately believe that just learning about this stuff, it inoculates you and protects the world around it, not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
So this does not surprise me.
No, so those are the kinds of things that they consider to be successes. Now, if we go to the About Us page, I found an interesting phrase in the About Us. So it's like, Mom, are you fed up with the filth that many segments of our society, especially the entertainment media, are throwing at our children, blah, blah, like whatever.
Absolutely.
Stuff like
I think PragerU Kids needs to be burned.
For sure. But in desperately begging people to join them, I noticed that we're still at 3307 for the fundraiser. People need to give more money. Give more money. Anyway, when they're talking about joining 1 million moms, their pitch is, there is no charge to join, and despite our name, our membership is open to all. Singles are welcome. As a member, you agree to participate in at least one project a week. So
despite their name, their membership isn't even at 1 million.
So it's 1 million moms. They can't even get 1 million moms, and they open it up to anyone who's not even a mom. But on top of that, that's super duper fucking hypocritical, because like these are the same people that are like, trans women shouldn't be allowed in the women's room because I think they're a man. And now here they are creating a space for moms and saying our membership is open to all. So why do they get to be inclusive but bathrooms can't be?
Because they need to artificially increase their numbers. Otherwise, their entire organization will fall apart because they don't have enough actual enthusiasm within their niche group to operate.
Organization falls apart anyway. Like if you look at their current campaigns, okay, here, I'm gonna get over here so we can see their. Well, I don't need that anymore, so we can just. So these are their petitions. They got 15,000 petitions for something about vitamin water. They've got 18,000 petitions signed for an inappropriate Snickers ad. This is an ad for eHarmony that attempts to normalize sin for 14,900. Like they barely ever break 20,000. Oh yeah. This is IHG Hotels attempts to normalize sin. It's a fucking hotel. What do you think people do in those places?
So I don't know, Rhino, but I was told not to bring a black light into them, and I don't know why. Could you tell me why, Rhino? Could you explain that?
Because everything lights up in there.
That sounds cool. I like glow in the dark stuff.
It's not a good kind of glow in the dark. Yeah, but like IHG Hotels had a commercial featuring a gay couple. But it's like
Did they use the stars instead of the dinosaurs?
I don't know. I used to work at IHG. It's Crown Plaza, Sheridan. I think they own the Marriott as well. I don't know.
But 1 million bombs is only able to count to 10,000 from my chat.
Yeah. Sanchini says, sleep? That's what people do in hotels? Like, yeah, that's one of the things they do. But, like, hotels and motels have been, like, there was a time when it was considered scandalous if a small town opened a hotel. Because what do people do in a hotel in a small town? Nobody's traveling to the small town. So the hotel would often also have like a brothel or whatever. Like think Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, where the hotel, the guy who owns the hotel also is the pimp.
Well, of course, you have to be entrepreneurial. Your enterprise needs to be such that you don't rely on other people for your success. So, just go ahead and own the supply and the demand, both of them at the same time.
Yeah. Like,
makes sense.
My point is that like hotels have been well known to be dens of iniquity, so why they're surprised that a hotel would advertise to people that they don't approve of. Like, yeah, that's they want people who want to fuck in their rooms. That's their whole business. Not the whole business, but like it's a good chunk of the business.
It is a whole business.
Yep, you are correct. It is a whole business. My partner just shook her head, just so you know.
That's good. I'm glad.
She's not really paying attention, but like she's paying enough attention that like I can see when she is thinking like that's a dumb joke. Why would you say that? Fuck off, guys. Somebody needs to donate money to the charity for that bad joke. I mean, somebody did donate because we're at 33.57 now, and that's not what it was at before. Let's.
Altfax says I was given assurances that a young entrepreneur like myself would not be inhibited by the local authorities. Sucks.
Okay, so
Gibberish
next
Chris says
article.
my favorite. So Gibberish Christian in my chat says my favorite holes are the ears, but because of the conversation, I read that as my favorite hotels are the ears, and that got really disturbing really quick.
We're at 33.82. My favorite hotels are the ears. That is a weird thing to say, yes.
Yeah, that made me feel strange. Not in a good way.
So Orion donated $25 and said, "Oh." Scott D, I assume that's Scott Dillahunt, but you didn't type out the whole thing, so it might be any Scott D. Says, okay, I got paid, still need more puddles. She's passed out on the floor. Let's see, today is the 15th. John Hansen gave $25. Anonymous gave $250 today. I think that came in before the stream started, though.
Well, damn.
Because I seem to recall seeing that before. And
well, that'll definitely pay for your room at the Ear Hotel.
Yeah, any hotel that would advertise themselves as the Ear Hotel, their rooms are probably less than $250.
Yep. Stop in my chat. Just like, great, the ear fuckers are here now.
Hey, if there's a hole, you can stick things in it.
Back in my day, any hole was a go.
Any hole but the vag, and you're still a virgin. Anyway, next news item. Trump calls political enemies vermin, echoing dictators Hitler and Mussolini. So I'm sure we've all heard about this by now. So calling those on the other side of the aisle vermin and suggesting that they pose a greater threat to the United States than countries such as Russia, China, or North Korea. That language is drawing rebuke from historians who compared it to that of authoritarian leaders. It's like literally the word vermin in German and Italian or whatever, like their equivalents, is how they describe the Jews in World War II. So what Trump said is, we pledge to you that we will root out the communist, Marxist, fascist, radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. Projection much? Also, like, isn't the American dream that an immigrant can move to America and make a good life for themselves? And isn't
Yeah.
his whole thing like, don't let the immigrants in?
So yes, the American dream is basically anyone can make it. That's the idea. That has to include immigrants because if it includes Americans, it already does, literally. But I just it's frustrating because I think we've both done content in the past pointing out that people like Trump use fascist language.
Mm-hmm.
We've done it a lot over the last few years.
And we've been called ridiculous for suggesting that he's like a Nazi.
And then now, like, historians that have their entire career on, like, you can get laughed out of a lot of these studies by using loaded rhetoric. You can.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, no, you don't understand. This is the language. This is the language that a fascist used. This is the language that is used by an authoritarian dictator. This is the language we expect to see there, and here we are. Anytime somebody's like, gee, I wonder how it happened there.
But we haven't even gotten to his response to people calling him out for it, though. Just hold your horses. So Trump went on further to say the threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us. And I imagine that came out a lot less eloquently than I just delivered it with my slurred beer speech. Because it's Trump. There were probably a lot of like repeated phrases in there that they're cutting out for time or whatever. But apparently, like, Trump actually called himself a very proud election denier, even though like he's on trial in some criminal trials for being an election denier. I mean, not just denying the election, but like other shit. But that seems like not a great idea for him. But
it turns out trying to undermine democracy is a bad idea in a republic that uses democracy. Weird that.
Yeah. So Lord of Uzkalak says, remember, many on the right think the Nazis were a far left party because their name includes the word socialist. Yeah, but they're also nationalists, and nationalism is very much a right-wing thing. And also, like, one of the fascist things was to use labels that didn't actually apply, but pretending that they did. So, like,
also historically,
another thing that Hitler did, or well, maybe not Hitler, I don't know. Mussolini promised greater freedom. You vote for me as a vote for freedom. I will, like, I'm all about the freedom or whatever. And then as soon as he was elected,
he's the guy that coined fascism.
Yeah.
Also should be noted, anytime somebody tries to pull the National Socialist thing, if you actually look at the history of the how the Weimar Republic turned into Nazi Germany, Hitler got elected into what was originally the German Workers' Party. He literally used left-wing rhetoric because it was more popular, not because he was right, not because that was what he was actually going to do, but because turns out when you have a nation of workers, like they didn't have a lot of industry that was privatized back then. The Nazi Party literally invented the idea of privatizing a lot of their industry within the nation, but not invented, but they popularized it a lot. So Hitler used left-wing rhetoric, and then if you look at what happened in the Night of Long Knives, what happened to the actual left-wing proponents in his party the minute he had power? Oh, they all fucking died. Weird that.
Funny how that works, yeah.
It's just history's strange.
Yeah.
History is so strange.
Yeah, so Trump is painting himself as the victim of a political system that's out to get him and his supporters. But then his use of the word vermin is piquing the interest of historians. So
he's definitely the victim, but don't worry, he's using the language of an exterminator.
Yeah, so the language is the language that dictators use to instill fear, says Timothy Naftali, a senior researcher at Columbia University School of International and Public Affairs. When you dehumanize an opponent, you strip them of their constitutional rights to participate securely in democracy because you're saying they're not human. That's what dictators do. This is Ruth Ben-Ghiat, sorry for mispronouncing that, who is a historian at New York University, who said calling people vermin was used effectively by Hitler, Mussolini to dehumanize people and encourage their followers to engage in violence. Yeah, something about engage in violence when he's like on trial for the January 6th thing where he encouraged his followers to engage in violence. Seems to be working for him, sort of, until he gets caught. Hopefully he actually does face some consequences for that.
I've also learned that apparently, legally speaking, if you used loaded language like that, that can actually be considered something that you can get in trouble for with the law, unless you are talking about a political party. Turns out if you say those people over there in a geological location are vermin and should be eradicated or what have you, that is bad legally speaking. But if you say the Democrats are vermin, that's not bad legally speaking, and I find that kind of weird.
That is kind of weird, especially since Democrat is like a lot of the right has used Democrat as a catch-all for everyone who they disagree with.
Yeah.
Like, I have seen Republicans be called Democrats because they disagreed with something that another Republican said.
Yeah, it turns out that you I didn't realize this until YouTube finally said, hey, we might take away your copyright your community guidelines warning, because I made a video making fun of Steven Anderson. I got a community guidelines hit for it years ago, and it sat there, forever, and they were like, no, it's impossible to remove this from your account. So now they are saying I can remove it from my account, and to do so, I had to take
the course.
a test. I had to take the test, and part of the test, I was like, "Yeah, no, you can't say that people from a political party should all be killed. That's not a thing you're allowed to do." And YouTube's like, "Actually, it is." What? Oh, and YouTube's literally just basing this off of United States legal principle? Oh, that's weird. That's strange. I don't know if I like that.
So, YouTube, can I say murder all the Republicans? Is that a legal thing for me to say? Oh, we're at $3,400 for the fundraiser. So that's good. We're helping people in need by talking about murdering Republicans.
So saying murdering Republicans can be considered incitement, but it is not incitement against a protected class of people.
I mean, we are discussing hypotheticals here. I am not actually advocating for anyone to murder Republicans.
Sure.
Unless it happens to be Clarence Thomas. No, I'm not saying that's a joke. That's a funny joke. Ha ha.
For instance, you can't say as a matter of rule, you can't say transgender people are subhuman. But if you use Democrat as a stand-in for trans people and their supporters, you can say all Democrats are subhuman, and YouTube will do nothing about that one.
Okay, but I've got the red highlight right at the bottom of my screen where they can't see it on the stream yet and you can't see it yet. That, like, it starts to get bad. We haven't even gotten to the part where it gets bad yet, Cyrus.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
I'm glad the preamble's here.
In response to this, Stephen Chung, a Trump campaign spokesman, when it was pointed out that, like, hey, Trump's been using dictator language, he responded by saying, "Those who try to make that ridiculous assertion are clearly snowflakes grasping for anything because they are suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, and their entire existence will be crushed when President Trump returns to the White House."
Oh.
Because that's not something a dictator would say.
So they're actually... Wait.
Anyone who disagrees with Trump will be crushed. He's not a dictator. What are you talking about? Don't be extreme.
And... So this is where if you said the trans people would be crushed, the women will be crushed, those would be bad. But, well, the people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, that's not protected. You're legally allowed to say that. I don't think you should be, actually, come to think of it.
The person with the name in Japanese characters that I keep forgetting how to pronounce, Sakura, there, said that's probably not within the TOS, which I think that's referencing saying to murder Republicans.
The hypothetically in Minecraft murdering the Republican NPCs?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, but anyway, like, so they're literally calling for the extermination of the existence of people who disagree with Trump. But yeah, no, he's not a dictator. What makes you think that?
Jesus Christ.
And then Chung later clarified that he meant to say their sad, miserable existence instead of their entire existence, because that makes it all better.
That doesn't make it any better. That doesn't make it any better.
No, it does not.
I just have to wonder what goes through the mind of somebody who does this, because I think it's
so. Here's the thing: this was a Trump spokesman.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, he is not going to face any repercussions for this until it is something that Trump is feeling himself. When he starts to feel that, like, the thing that guy said is starting to cause me issues, then he is going to be like, oh no, that was just one of my spokesmen. He's been fired now, even though he was allowed to continue working for months afterwards.
It was a new intern, and they don't represent the company, and they are no longer with us.
Is that a reference to the time when Ted Cruz's account liked a porn post on Twitter?
I wish it was a reference to one thing, Rhino. That's the problem.
There's so many things it could be a reference to.
It's every time, because like the BLM Chicago organization had the same thing where they were like, oh, it was a young intern that posted a picture of Hamas dropping down in parachutes to slaughter people at a rave, and said we stand with Palestine with that. Like it was an intern that did that one. Wink, wink. Every time, I'm just like, maybe just don't say stupid things on the internet, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, and perhaps maybe you won't have to have so many interns.
So I don't have this problem, and I regularly get semi-drunk on streams.
That's because drunk words are sober thoughts. Turns out your sober thoughts are pretty fucking fine.
If you're not a fucking shitty person, then being a little bit drunk and losing the filter doesn't result in things that get you canceled.
Weird that.
I'm not a shitty person. Therefore, when I don't have, like, I feel safe losing a bit of my filter, like, the worst that's going to happen is the watering hole will lose its monetization because I said murder Republicans. Which is not I am not encouraging you to murder Republicans unless their name is Justice Clarence Thomas, but that's a joke because that's a funny joke. Yeah, Alito would do as well, which is also a joke. Hi, sirs, how's it going? Is your stream still monetized?
It's still up. It's still up so far. I will only second what you're saying, by saying there's a friend of mine who posted on Twitter a while back, shortly after the Roe v. Wade decision, actually, and said, it's strange that we don't hear that much about attempts on justices' lives. Like, if that happens to the president, we hear about it pretty much the day of. Mm-hmm. But we actually don't know if that happens that often to justices, and they have, for life positions. You'd actually expect it to happen more often with them, but it doesn't.
Drew Harrison,
as far as we know.
Drew Harrison says bigotry is not a side effect of being high/drunk. There you go. That's why I'm not worried about accidentally saying something that's going to get me canceled or whatever, because I'm not a bigot. If I'm drunk and I accidentally say something that I would normally keep to myself, worst case scenario, that's going to be something like what I've been saying all stream tonight. I should stop saying that before one of us gets into trouble.
It would probably be a good idea, though I will say it has been funny because I recognize it's a joke. I know that there's not a person like sitting there waiting to have just enough Rolling Rocks in them so they can go, nope, it's time for the pitchforks.
I mean,
I know that's not you.
My partner is an assassin, I think.
So has she just been here waiting
She's giving me the side eye, like, no, don't tell them.
You should watch Spy X Family.
No, she's really just like editing a spreadsheet right now. Because spreadsheets are
like an assassin would do.
Spreadsheets make her wet. She just said, I'm not an assassin, I'm a nerd.
Somehow it's been an hour and Growly and Chip are still barking out there at something at the fence line. There's gotta be like a coyote who's just looking around for something. And Growly is just like, no, stop.
Progress only says, an ass in.
you don't put the ass in everything. That's like backwards docking.
So I'm going to mostly skip the last news article. It's from the Friendly Atheist, where Hemant wrote an article about there's a Catholic church in Florida has refused to rent a space to a mom because they found out that she conceived her kids through IVF. Because because like they're against IVF because it results in some of the fertilized eggs not being carried to term. And she's a devoted Catholic. She's a devoted Catholic who has had kids that are going to grow up Catholic.
But they're like, no, you is the exact opposite of birth control.
Yeah, I know. They don't make any sense. That's one of the things that Hemant points out is that, like, when it comes to things that are like if this lady had conceived via IVF and not been vocal about it, because she's a bit of an activist in favor of helping people with fertility issues. So if she had not been vocal about it, they would have not had a problem with it. Because, like, how many people do they have in the pews that, like, use condoms sometimes? And they
just won't talk about it.
Yeah, they don't eject them from the church because then they'd have nobody left. But yeah, no, it's and actually no, there is one thing I want to read in here. They said something about is it dignity? Yeah, so the church says that these things, so that's any technique used to achieve conception by the use of gametes coming from at least one donor other than spouses, including sperm donation, the use of surrogates, and in vitro fertilization. The church says these things are contrary to the covenant of marriage, the unity of spouses, and the dignity proper to parents and the child. You're like, I'm sorry. If you are a child that is born through one of these methods, would you feel it's more dignified to have the church be like, no, you're icky because you were born through a thing that doesn't even matter, but we don't like it? Or would it be more dignified to be like, no, you're a human being that deserves a base level of respect just for the sake of being human?
Yeah.
So, like, fuck you, Catholic Church. You're a piece of shit.
Every sperm is sacred.
I will sing it if you guys don't donate another $193 to get us to, would that be 3,600?
That'd be 3,600.
Sure. Every sperm is sacred.
While you do that, I'm going to let the dogs in.
Every sperm is great. If a sperm is wasted, God gets quite irate. Donate money now or I'll keep singing. I actually don't know the rest of that song. I just know the chorus. I do know, fun fact about that particular skit, is that when he was in the room full of children singing about how sacred sperm is, it was considered inappropriate to allow them to hear the word cock. So when he said, because the Catholic Church won't let me have a thing on the tip of my cock, instead of saying cock, he said sock there. Because, yeah, do the dance. No, I'm not doing the dance. Fuck you. I can't do the dance.
I'm back. Is he still singing?
No, but they're literally trying to get me to dance for money. They're telling me to do the dance. Can we pay you to keep singing? Yes. If you okay, so if we get to 3,600, I will stop singing. But if we get to 3,700, I'll keep singing.
Guys, if your donations are now officially
Look down, Javert. We see each other plain. No, I'm getting it mixed up. God damn it!
I'll start singing One Way Dream again.
That's what happens when I try to sing a duet by myself. Cirrus, come on. Pick up the slack here. Play Javert or play Valjean. I'll do Javert.
Which song?
The Confrontation. Valjean, at last, we see each other plain. Monsieur le Maire, you'll wear a different chain.
I don't remember how it. I have the
I can-
lyrics up, and I would literally
I
just
can-
Southernism it.
I can hit that note in the morning. It's too deep for me right now, though.
Like I would literally just, before you say another word.
Before you say another word, Javert. Before you chain me up like a slave again. Sorry, Les Mis is my favorite musical. I once... Okay. It's story time. Fuck. Okay, so I just listened to Patrick Stewart narrating his memoirs, which it was delightful. It was like listening to an old man rambling for several hours. Because that's what it was. But so when I was 16, my dad took me on a trip to England to visit the homeland, because that's where he's from, and we drove around or whatever. And in London, I had the opportunity to see Patrick Stewart live on stage in a play. And I read the synopsis of the play, and I was like, that sounds weird and uncomfortable, and I don't want to see that. So I went to see Les Mis, even though I'd already seen Les Mis live like twice at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, tangent to my tangent. The production of Les Mis that I saw had Raymond Caramlou in the cast. He was like one of the background characters. He is now like in superstardom among Broadway. Like he played the Phantom in the 25th anniversary concert of the Phantom of the Opera. Like he's a great singer. And so like I saw him before he was famous. And so that's kind of neat. But I missed out on the opportunity to see Patrick Stewart live. And in listening to the memoirs, the play that I neglected to go see Patrick Stewart in was the same play that during the time when like it might have been the one that I said no to. Ian Holm was in the audience. So I might have had the opportunity to meet Bilbo fucking Baggins after seeing Patrick Stewart live on stage. But I didn't want to see a weird play that sounded uncomfortable to watch. So like, let that be a lesson to everybody. If there's an actor that you're a fan of or whatever, go see their play, because maybe you'll meet Bilbo. No, he's dead now. You won't meet Bilbo. Sorry.
Use a time machine. And you'll be able to meet Bilbo.
Sure. And like I know, like realistically, he probably wasn't at the show that I would have had the opportunity to go to. And even if he was, I probably would have never met him. But it's still one of those like what if kind of moments. Like there's a non-zero chance that could have happened.
There's an area in the Rhino multiverse where it could have happened.
Yes.
I wonder.
I had someone in the chat saying they don't like Les Mis. That's okay. It's actually like, as far as musicals go, it's very simple. It's like it's very straightforward. Like musically speaking, like these series of notes always mean this, and it never varies. So like it's not a musical that is interesting from a complexity standpoint, but I still enjoy it.
I will say my favorite musical is a really, really fucked up one, but I recommend everybody watch it if they haven't already. It's Reefer Madness.
I was afraid you were going to say Repo, a genetic opera.
No,
because that one's messed up as well.
Repo is I'll say this. Repo is the edgy theater kid's favorite go-to for, no, I'm edgy and misunderstood. I like Repo, the genetic opera.
So it's one of my sister's favorite musicals, and that actually, like, aside from being a theater kid, like she was never a theater kid, but everything else perfectly tracks.
It's like when
it's like I want to be perceived as edgy, but I'm not really.
This is like there's a member of my family who I will not name, but if they watch my content, they'll know exactly who they are when I say this. Tried to do when I tried talking about anime to them, they tried to do the whole, oh, I don't watch what's popular. I don't watch that stuff. I like this other niche stuff. But their favorite things are like Full Metal Alchemist and Danganronpa, which are two of the most popular anime. But okay. Sure. Definitely. You're very edgy. You're very edgy and not mainstream. You did it.
What about Grave
Anyway,
of the
that's what I think of
Fireflies? What about
that's
Grave
what I
of the
think of
Fireflies, man? Like that is a movie I watched it once and I absolutely loved it, but I'm not watching that again because it's so fucking painful. I can't.
It's
I can't.
a hard watch.
No, I can't do that.
Miyazaki knows how to make you feel.
I know. He's so good at that. But like, ugh. And it was designed to be like a double feature with Totoro.
Well, yeah, you need the palate cleanser of Totoro.
Didn't Totoro come first? I don't know. Whatever. But like, but yeah, but there's some dark interpretations of Totoro too that make it not okay.
Yeah, there are. There's so at the very least, though, Miyazaki has said multiple times, like, "Hey, if you're reading darker stuff into my material, you're reading too deeply into my material."
Yeah, it's just meant to be a fun little thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's a few of those, like three edgy, five me. I like this because it's dark and ooh, and I'm like, I like things because I like things.
Yeah.
Zilber says Full Metal Alchemist is the entry level gold standard. Yes, agreed. It is entry level gold standard anime.
All right, we've got Leah Collinwood said from KW, glad to help those in Niagara. And Unvoiced Apollo donated $6.66. So we are now at $34.13 and 66 cents. I know in previous years people have gotten very upset when it's not ending in an even dollar amount. So somebody needs to donate something with what is it, 44 cents, 34 cents? I don't know.
An amount of money.
An amount of money to make it an even number again for the charity. Otherwise, it's going to be a not even amount, and we can't have that. Okay. Shall we do some tweets?
I think we shall.
We shall. If I can find my button. It's there somewhere. God damn it. I just move stuff around. Why would I do that?
Do you need me to press your button for you?
Yes. Yes, I do, sir.
Okay.
Always push my button. I love it when you push my button. You're so good at it. Nobody does it like you.
I'm less comfortable with this now.
You started it.
I understand I started it, but I don't want you to finish. I mean, I don't want to finish it.
You don't want me to finish? Oh.
No, not really. It's messy. It gets everywhere.
Okay. Anyway, so we're starting off with I probably should have put this one in the middle as a palate cleanser, but we're starting off with someone posted. I have no idea what the context for this was. Princesses don't suck dick. So somebody retweeted that with, well, point me to the queen.
Jesus.
Which I thought that was funny. So now the context that I discovered this in, I was on Twitter, and on the trending section, it said, the queen is trending. I'm like, okay. And it said it was trending in Canada specifically. So I'm like, there's a non-zero chance that that's Queen Dildo. Queen Dildo's hilarious. So like if there's a news story about Queen Dildo, I want to know about that. So I clicked on the queen in the trending section, and this was the first tweet to come up.
Oh.
So I'm like, I still don't know why the queen was trending, but this is a tweet that I saw and I thought it was funny. So I'm sharing it with you.
The only my brain that has to read things as literal is just looking at this and going, yeah, most of the time pillow princesses don't. That's why we don't like them. Well, also, this is probably about something else.
Well, also the person who said princesses don't suck dick, if you look at her username, it's Queen Aries.
So there's a non-zero chance.
Sure. Anyway,
almost every comment under that actually is people going, well, then crown me a queen. Point me to the queen. There's the queen. There's so many of these.
Yeah, but that was the one that I saw. But now let's move on to Cameron.
That makes it special. Oh.
Let's move on to Cameron. It says, quick reminder that naturalism doesn't predict suffering.
What? Yes, it does.
Absolutely, it does.
100% it does.
Now, we're going to get into this because he's got a follow-up tweet to this where he kind of explains it. But, like, in a naturalistic world, looking at it post hoc, in a world where thinking, feeling beings have evolved or have developed, whatever you want to call it, there is no reason to think that that would happen in such a way as to prevent suffering. So in a naturalistic world where thinking, feeling beings exist, you would expect there to be suffering. What Cameron does with that is he turns it around and says, let's suppose that naturalism is the view that nothing like God exists. That's not what naturalism is, but let's just ignore that for now. Does this view predict suffering? No. All it predicts is that certain entities don't exist. Like, okay, no. Naturalism just says that we can explain things in the natural world without having to appeal to the supernatural. That's literally all it is. This is an ad hoc thing where we say this is the world as we observe it.
It's also important to note that Cameron here he's just saying naturalism, but he's not making the distinction that you absolutely need to make here. Are we talking methodological naturalism or are we talking philosophical naturalism?
Mm-hmm.
Philosophical naturalism might posit that a God who exists outside our universe doesn't exist, but it doesn't have to. And methodological naturalism does not posit that at all.
Yeah,
because it doesn't have to.
Dr. Francis Collins, the lead researcher of the Human Genome Project, is very much a devout Christian who holds to methodological naturalism when he's working.
Because it's the only way to make...
That's the way science works.
Yeah, science can make predictions within methodological naturalism. It does not make predictions outside of that, nor does it have to.
Mm-hmm.
But that's...
But even still, giving his stupid definition of naturalism...
it's got to be philosophical. It has to be.
Yeah, but so naturalism is, like I said, it's post hoc. It's after the fact. We are looking at the world that already exists, that we already exist in. And we're looking at it and saying, like, okay, if it came about naturally, what would we expect to see in this world versus if it came about supernaturally? So if it came about naturally, there's nobody looking out for us. There's no reason that there would not be suffering. Whereas if it was designed by an all-loving creator who has all power and all knowledge, you would expect that he would do what's best for us, which would mean not suffering. So given what exists, naturalism is more indicated by the world.
It's also weird that Christians have this affinity for limiting the power of their God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, God needed to use suffering to bring about a greater good because he wasn't powerful enough to just make the greater good.
Or he wasn't creative enough to conceive of a way he could have done it otherwise.
Yeah. It very much takes the omnipotence away from God in order to, like, any of the theodicies that solve the problem of evil do so by taking the all-powerful attribute away from God.
This is why it's important to know literally jack shit about theism before you become an apologist.
But also, this has never quite sat well with me. I don't know if it's a grammatical thing. I don't even know if I'm correct here. I might very well be wrong. But, like, Cameron and a lot of apologists, but Cameron does it a lot, is like they'll use phrases like on naturalism, on theism. What do you mean on naturalism? Like that just seems like a weird way to say it. Like, wouldn't it be like in naturalism or in a naturalistic worldview, something like that? Like on naturalism. It's
shorthand for on the topic of.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I can understand that.
That's one of those things where it's like, I'm tempted to make a point about it every time it comes up in one of my videos, but I never actually do because I'm not even sure if I'm right.
I will just say that this is one of the reasons, among many, that I stopped studying philosophy. When I started my channel, I was really into the whole let's get down into the muck on all of these issues. Let's get to it. Eventually I got to the point where I'm like, this is a whole bunch of people disagreeing with each other on a bunch of shit I don't care about. Mm-hmm. And I'm tired of reading the SCP every time I make a video.
Yeah, that's why I don't respond to William Lane Craig, because it takes a lot of effort to figure out that he has said nothing.
Yep.
Like, why would I waste my life figuring out what this guy's saying when what he is saying is ultimately nothing?
Razor in my chat goes, philosophy is just one big rabbit hole. Yep.
I mean, no, philosophy is important, but philosophers abuse philosophy to make it sound like they're smarter than they are. And Cameron is absolutely one of those philosophers.
100%.
Oh, speaking of philosophers who like to think that they're smart, Wendell on Twitter.
This bitch has been popping up on my feed for weeks now.
He just came out of nowhere. He's just everywhere. Says, God did in fact write the Bible. The men who put the pen to paper, so to speak, were simply recording what God told them to record.
Then he didn't write the Bible.
Yeah.
At most he orated it. That's not writing.
Yeah, but like even if they wrote everything down that he suggested absolutely perfectly, how do you square that with the fact that there are different endings to the Book of Mark?
How do you square it with there being non-canon books?
Well, because the canon were the ones that were written by God, obviously, because God directed the council of it wasn't Nicaea, it was the other one.
So we figured that out afterwards. So God told us to write all of it, and then afterwards we were just like, not these ones.
No. Just the ones that were decided on in the council were the ones that God dictated.
So God was at the council.
Sure.
Because otherwise it doesn't work.
Well, I mean, it doesn't work.
God isn't Disney. He doesn't get to decide which parts of Star Wars I'm allowed to like.
Even if you fucking ignore that, like, just within the Bible itself, when you get the, like, oh, some manuscripts say this and other manuscripts say that. Like, which one is the one that God wrote down? And then you get to the letters of Paul. There's at least two of them that there is evidence that they were dictated. So as in, like, Paul was speaking, and then someone else was writing down what Paul was speaking.
I mean, to be fair, Paul was blind. That kind of had to happen, I think.
Okay, sure. But Paul miraculously got his sight back or whatever, so, like, forget that.
Sure.
So Paul's dictating. What is the inerrant word of God? The things that Paul said, or the things that the person he was dictating to wrote down? Because it is well known that in ancient writing traditions or whatever, when someone was dictating, the person writing it down would have like shorthand that they would use, and they would change things as they were going to like make it flow better or whatever. Like what they were writing down was not word for word exactly what the person was saying ever. So, is the word of God what Paul was saying, or what the first scribe who was taking the dictation wrote down? Because those are not going to be the same thing. And how do we even know? How do we figure this out? It seems like an omnipotent, omniscient creator could figure out how to make this more clear than that. Anyway,
have you seen Jackson's fights with Wendell on Twitter? Not even really fights, but
I've seen a couple of them.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Wendell is not an intelligent person.
No,
but he thinks that he is. Steve Brennan says, bet Paul used a slave. Yeah, that's not outside the realm of possibility. He was the guy that wrote the books the books that said slaves obey your earthly masters. And then the Christians will be like, oh, but he begged for one slave to be released one time, therefore he was anti-slavery. No, asking like, hey, I have a friend who happens to be your slave, please release him. I would appreciate that. That's not the same as saying slavery is wrong, because he literally wrote, slaves obey your earthly masters.
Especially if they're Christian and have a really firm whip.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm not going to recognize this one.
Yeah, Robin Atkins says, what do pedophilia, gender ideology, and abortion have in common? At the minimum, they share a level of transhumanism, a desire to escape healthy biology and to achieve personal preferences. What?
How is it a desire to escape healthy biology? How does What does pedophilia have to do with a desire to escape healthy biology? What does abortion have to do with that?
No, abortion is often an attempt to escape unhealthy biology.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm looking at.
And also, like, okay, I don't know a lot about transhumanism. My knowledge of the subject basically is like, it leaves me with the impression of like the Star Trek, someone who has evolved past the need for a physical body and they are now an energy being thing, which I know that's not what transhumanism actually is, but that's what it makes me think when I hear that word. So, what do they think transhumanism means? Because I don't see how any of those things are transhumanism.
No, there's an aspect of quote, insofar as there even is a gender ideology, there's not really, but there's an aspect of quote gender ideology that could at the very least have something to do with transhumanism, because the ability to modify one's body and improve upon it iteratively the way that transhumanism wants to be able to do, it can be argued that some of the steps we take towards transition mirror that a little bit. So sure, I guess, kind of in a weird vacuum. I have to twist my head really hard to square that one, though.
Yeah, no, yeah, like, I don't know. Like I said, I have zero experience with transhumanism. I don't know what it means aside from what I said about where like it could intersect with Star Trek. But I feel like this person doesn't know what it means any better than I do. And I can tell that just from reading this tweet. I'm just like, how are these things even similar at all? Like, abortion is about, like, hey, I've got too many kids already. I can't afford another one. I don't have the time for another one. Like, when you have kids, every time you have another kid, that actually takes time away from the kids that you already had. So now they are going to get less of an individualized experience of parental raising. So like they're like it's a trade-off. Yeah. Huval Atheist says transhumans are pretender transformers, of course.
I don't get that one.
Well, they're humans that want to be transformers, so they pretend to be transformers, so they're transhumans.
Oh, cool. Neat.
Small Fry says seventh kid can confirm. Yeah, between me and my partner, we have 5 kids, and honestly, like, as much as I would rather that her kids not spend any time with their dad because their dad is an asshole, it's probably better for them that the time is split up, because it's not 5 kids in the house all the time. So I have time to spend time with my kids, and she has time to spend time with her kids, and I have time to spend time with her kids, and like whatever the combinations are. Like 5 kids is probably too much to do all the time. That being said, I need to update my will so you get my kids that if I kick the bucket.
You have to make sure the state don't grab them.
Well, no, they'll like, I think the way it's set up right now, my sister would get them, but that would also make it a 5-kid household, so wouldn't be any better there. I'm not sure about that one. I have to, like, it's been a while now. I should probably update my will. Anyway, on that depressing note, let's move on to the next tweet. Rob said, atheism is demonic, Islam is demonic, Catholicism is demonic, Jehovah's Witnesses is demonic, Mormonism is demonic, Scientology is demonic, Hebrew Roots is demonic, only Jesus, the real Jesus, saves, and Jesus is God Almighty.
Who determines which one of those is real?
Well, if you have a personal relationship with Jesus, you see, then you'll be able to figure it out for yourself. Fennec says, Vice Rhino, do you need a hug? I always need a hug. 100% of the time. That's just my default state. Lord of Us Collect is saying, where'd it go? Yep. I'm sure Rhino was talking to Heidi, but it looked like he was. It looked like he said he was bequeathing his kids to Surus. Yeah, because I looked over at you, but on the stream, Surus is.
That's where I happen to be.
Yeah, I happen to be looking at Surus. So yeah, no, I'm not. I am. What I mean, do you want my kids?
No, I'm good.
They're delightful.
At the very least with pets, and I think it probably works with kids too.
How about one? Do you want one?
Whenever somebody is trying to pawn off
1.5,
a bad idea,
1.5.
How are you going to cut a kid in half, Solomon?
We'll figure it out.
Jesus Christ!
I love my kids. I love my kids. I love my kids.
I'm sure you do.
God damn it. So we used to have a portable dishwasher, one of the ones that you like roll across the kitchen floor and then you hook it up to the sink in order to use. And it was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. And you didn't have to wash your dishes by hand usually. But then one day it sprung a leak. This is not the first time it sprung a leak. I know how much it costs to fix that, and it's like, I may as well just buy another dishwasher at this point because this is the second time it's happened. And so we're like, okay, well, we need to do some renovations in the kitchen because the kitchen just doesn't make any fucking sense because our stove is like right up against some counters or some cupboards that can't be opened out. Like I haven't opened these cupboards in a decade because the stove is there. So why are the cupboards even there? So anyway, we need to renovate the kitchen. And so after the dishwasher broke, I was like, okay, well, there's no point in fixing it or buying a new one because of the cost. So I'm just going to wait until we can get a contractor in to install a new one. And so now we are at the weird stage where I have a brand new dishwasher sitting in my house, but it is not hooked up and the contractor's not coming to hook it up until at least December 18th. It's like, and so I'm trying to teach my kids responsibility. So it's like, okay, we're going to rotate through who does the dishes. And it's a nightmare. And they do the dishes and then I have to wash the dishes before I use them again because there's still food on them from them ignoring it or whatever.
They were not really cleaned well.
It's a fucking nightmare. Like having the kids do the dishes is worse than if I just did all of them by myself. But it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of gotta like let them learn that like this is part of running a household. But yeah, I'm really annoyed that there is a brand new in theory it's a great dishwasher sitting in my dining room because there's nowhere else to put it. And it's going to be there for like a month.
You get to sit there and look at it and be very happy that one day in the future you might not have to do dishes.
Yeah. Yep. It's annoying.
But you're still going to have to scrape all the food off and you're still going to have to pre-rinse. And
No. I got the one that it's got like a food processor type of thing in it where like in theory you don't even have to rinse your dishes. You just put them in and it chops everything up small enough that it can get through the what's it called? The drain. Fuck, I couldn't remember the word drain.
Huh.
I'm smart, y'all. Yeah, no, they're like I went all out on this fucking thing. Like I fell for the marketing 100% because I'm this is my ADHD, and Heidi would say that it also has something to do with autism, which she thinks that I have and I'm still in denial about. But she's the one that's actually going to school to be a therapist, so probably knows better than me.
To be fair, there's also talks right now about categorizing ADHD and autism as part of the same spectrum.
Yeah, that actually kind of makes sense now that I think about it. But yeah, no, this dishwasher was like marketed directly to me with like, oh, we put like antimicrobial coatings on certain high touch areas or whatever, like the areas that people touch all the time, so that way it's going to always not have germs on it, even if you forget to wipe it off. Like, that sounds like complete corporate bullshit, but it also sounds amazing, so I'm gonna pay the extra $100 for that one.
Yeah, that's like I have copper lined pillows.
Yeah,
I have two sets of pillows, copper lined ones that are antimicrobial, and then I have
Silver does that as well.
I have the silicone ones as well, the ones that are like budget versions of the purple pillow.
Hmm. Yeah.
So both of them are like they have the same like things don't fester on these. They're good for you.
Yep, yep.
I don't know if that's
That
true or
kind
not.
that kind of marketing, absolutely. You like I will fall for that 100%, even though I know that it's probably corporate bullshit. Look, we're at 3,500 for the fundraiser. Yay. Thank you, whoever just donated.
Corporate bullshit got us here.
Corporate bullshit. All right. Anyway, now that we know that we're demonic, let's move on to CNN, who says remote work risks wiping $800 billion from the value of office buildings in major cities worldwide by 2030 as the post-pandemic trend pushes up office vacancy rates and drives down rents, according to a new report. Poor babies. The poor corporations that own these buildings that are not able to collect their rent anymore. Like, fuck that. Like, this is just... Like, just looking at this from a capitalistic perspective. Like, if I am a company and I cannot rent an office and have my workers work from home, like, yeah, there are a lot of companies that are doing the stupid thing where they're like, oh no, I can't have you working from home because then you might do the Facebook while you're supposed to be working. Which, you know, research has shown that no, people are actually much more efficient when they're working in a more comfortable environment. Was like, as a company that's worried about the bottom line, it's like, I can save some money by not having an office building and having people work from home. Sure, I'm going to have people work from home. And forgive me for not feeling pity for the poor owners of the office buildings.
Yeah, I don't care about office building culture enough to be upset that it's slowly disappearing.
Yeah,
I don't.
And speaking as someone who hopes to one day be a small landlord, I don't actually care about the landlords. Like, that's actually one of the things I've talked about with regards to being a landlord is that I don't want to worry about what the market rent is going to be. I want to worry about what I think is reasonable for the property. So, like, if I buy another house and I rent out the house that I'm living in now, because that's the plan, is that like the house we're in now is kind of too small for a family of 7. Like, we fit, but it's not the best fit. So, like, we need a bigger house and then we can rent out this house. I don't want to charge, like, I haven't really looked into what the rents would be for here, but like $1,200 a month for a house, that seems reasonable. It's not a small house. It's not a huge house, but it's also not small. $1,200 a month seems perfectly reasonable. Whereas, like, where the rent market is now, the reason my partner moved in with me was because her rent went from $1,600 to $1,800 a month for her tiny ass 2-bedroom apartment that could barely fit her family. And yeah, no, her rent went up, so she had to move. So, like, we weren't actually planning on moving in together that early, but it's like, you got to go somewhere. Nowhere's cheaper.
It's the same thing that my dad and his current wife had to do. The house he was living in Crestview, Florida, and the apartment she was living in somewhere in Alabama, combined, like, just individually, they were paying more. Like, she was paying more for the apartment than they now pay for their mortgage in the house that they bought together.
Yeah, no, that's the way it typically is. But now this is one of the new things that landlords are complaining about, is that, like, oh no, we have to charge so much more extra because it doesn't cover the mortgage anymore. And it's like, okay, well, if you can't afford that, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. But like, the last time I rented, it was a 2-bedroom townhouse that was, I want to say it was about 1,200 square feet, and it was like $700 a month. And like that, like, we thought that was kind of pricey at the time, whereas now, like, she had a 2-bedroom apartment that was probably less than half the size of the townhouse, and it was more than twice the price. So yeah, no, I don't feel sorry for landlords. And especially because like a lot of them, like they're not raising the rent out of necessity, they're raising the rent because they can. Like if you buy a house with the intention of renting it out, then yeah, you have to make sure that whatever the mortgage you have on that house, the rent is going to cover that. That's the whole point of making a profit or whatever. But like a lot of these places that are raising the rent, they didn't just buy the place. They already owned the place. They have the lower mortgage rates from the past. And they're just like, oh, like actually there have been a lot of places that like, oh, if I do some minor renovations, then I get out of rent control restrictions. So I will like put new tiles in the lobby and then raise the rent for everybody.
There's actually a word for that. It's called rent seeking.
Mm-hmm.
It is when and rent seeking isn't just for like landlords. It's anything you do where you are trying to gain profitability without actually providing a better service.
Yes.
Is rent seeking behavior.
Yeah. So Alex Markle says, aren't mortgage rates fixed? Yeah, the rates might be fixed, but the prices for the properties are not. So like the house that I bought back when my rent was $700 a month, we bought it for $120,000. Right now, if we wanted to sell it, we could sell it for probably about $400,000. That is a ridiculous increase. There's no reason for that. Like aside from, I don't know, whatever. It doesn't make any sense. There's like, my house should not be that expensive.
It's okay though. You should be sad about the office buildings that are going to be closed down.
No,
maybe if they got turned into affordable living centers instead.
Am I weird that I'm like, my house shouldn't be worth that much? Make it worth less.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then I've got Robert Adset in Twitch is talking about mortgage rates are not necessarily fixed. Variable rate mortgages tend to be cheaper over time. So yeah, that's talking about the interest rates. I don't know. We're oversimplifying a very complicated topic.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Vivek Ramaswamy says on day one, so he's a presidential candidate if somehow you've managed to get this far without knowing that. So he says, on day one, when he's elected, if he's elected, instantly fire 50% of federal bureaucrats. I wonder if he knows that definitionally speaking, like, the president is a federal bureaucrat.
I wonder if he recognizes that that's what he wants to be.
Yeah.
At all.
And like, the House is bureaucrats, the Senate is bureaucrats, they're all bureaucrats. And he says, here's how. If your social security number ends in an odd number, you're fired. How much you want to bet his ends in an even number? That downsizes the government by half. Absolutely nothing will break as a result. I beg to differ. It doesn't violate civil service rules because mass layoffs are exempt. Shut it down.
So you know how a lot of organizations will ask you for like the last four of your social?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm just being tinfoil hat cynical, but do you wonder if he got like an intern to illegally get the last four of everybody's social in the House and in the Senate, and just happened to find that the odd numbers were most just there was like a little more of a leaning of Democrats, because there's a very like set, not quite even split in both the House and the Senate all the time. You only need a few people gone to change that.
Yeah, I could see that, but I honestly think this is mostly just stupidity on his part.
No, never call malicious what could also just be.
Yeah. Because like I think of things like the VA. They're severely underfunded. If you cut half their staff right now, veterans lose basically everything that they get from the VA. Like, the military, that's federal. Lose half the troops immediately Like, I mean, I'm all for cutting military spending. I don't think this is how to do it.
Yeah, cutting military spending from the bottom up, probably not the way you want to do it.
No. This would also mean like 50% of Congress and the Senate are gone. I feel like immediately destroying 50% of the representation that Americans have in government is not a good idea.
I wonder if we did a revolution about that at one point. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, something about taxation without representation over like 1 cent tea tax.
Yep. Weird that.
I don't know. So Anonymous gave 8634 to get us to 3,500 even. So the people who like the not nice numbers are slacking off here because we've been at 3,500 for a while. Someone give 20 cents. No, 27 cents. Actually, I don't think it'll let you give less than $2. So $2.27. But yeah, no, there's so many federal organizations that would be completely devastated if you cut them in half. Like this does not just equal the Reaganomics, more government equals bad automatically sort of thing. Like that's not how the real world works. Sorry for people who are fans of Reagan. Reagan was wrong.
There are fans of Reagan? I'm kidding. I'm in
not in my audience, probably.
I'm in the area of the country where a lot of people were fans of Reagan.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if fans of mine were also fans of Reagan. But yeah, that's it for the tweets. The stream is mostly done, but I need someone to donate a weird number of cents so that we can encourage people to donate more to make it even tomorrow. Tomorrow, on my main channel, on the Vice Rhino channel, I'm going to be streaming with Eric Manning, who is an apologist. I believe he's one of the proponents of the undesigned coincidences hypothesis. And in trying to figure out a topic for the discussion, we kept on like arguing the points back and forth and like the merits of whether or not this was a good argument. And we're kind of having the discussion that we're supposed to be having live in just trying to figure out the topic. So why don't we just leave the topic up in the air and we'll figure it out. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. So yeah, I need he's going to be bringing his Christian audience. I need the atheists to donate more money to charity than his Christians are going to do. So
I just found that Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens are having beef on Twitter.
Did Candace Owens say that women are capable of becoming aroused? Because I know Ben Shapiro doesn't think that.
She did the "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God" post. No one can serve two masters, blah, 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 blah. And Ben Shapiro just responds to that tweet with, "Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire comes between you and God, by all means, quit."
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, bad guy fight. Bad guy fight.
Yep.
I'm rooting for Candace in this one.
I'm surprised.
As long as one of them loses, I'm happy. But I'd be slightly happier if Candace is the winner of the two.
Candace's response to that was, "You've been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we all have had to sit back and allow it to happen."
Can we replace weeks with years?
Just when you cross a line, when you come for scripture and read yourself into it, I won't tolerate it. So this is going to come down to it. This is going to be rooted as a theological difference between the two of them more than an actual like workplace gripe.
It's a workplace gripe, except Ben's a Jew, so he gets to use the harder scriptures.
Jesus, I have to see how far this rabbit hole goes. I need to know.
Okay. I will let you go do that. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Thanks for getting us to 3506.66. Thank you for whoever gave that $6.66. So now somebody else needs to give more money to make it an even number. See you guys tomorrow. And as always, fuck off.